Thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Junde from App Annie. It's my third time here at Casual Connect Singapore. Very happy to be here again to share with you what's going on in the market today. Okay. So today we'll start with a quick introduction of App Annie and our products. So today App Annie, we are the global biggest provider of market data and analytics for the app stores. Okay. So we provide data not just on your own apps, but for the market in general. You can look at data on any app in the world, any country in the world. And for those of us who have been using our products for a while, thank you so much for your support. We are around 4 years old. We started from a very small office in Beijing. Now we have 8 offices worldwide. Now we are dual headquartered in Beijing and San Francisco. We also have offices across Seoul, Tokyo, Shanghai, Hong Kong, London, and Russia. And also we're funded by the biggest VCs in the internet space like Sequoia, IDG, and Greycroft eVentures and IVP. So these are some of the biggest users of our products across each country, each region, each vertical. Because we're the top brand, most trustworthy, reliable brand here, all the biggest companies use us. And also our data is trusted by the world's top media, most credible media. So you have Financial Times, Forbes, TechCrunch, and so on. They all use our data. So quickly about App Annie products, today we provide 3 products. The first 2 are free. Analytics is a product that helps developers to track their own downloads and sales across all the apps, all the countries, and app purchases. And this is done for free and without any SDK integration. So you can set this up very, very fast. And also, recently we extended the analytics to also cover advertising data. So you can track your advertising spend, advertising revenue across different ad networks like the big ones like Chartboost. And again, it's for free and no SDK. Store Stats is also a free tool that you can use to look at which are the top apps by top free, top paid, top grossing in any country across the not entire, but 4 years of history on the app stores, iOS, Google Play, and more. Okay, and Intelligence is our premium product. We're able to very accurately estimate the downloads and revenues of every app in the world, broken down by country, by day. And also we have revenue and download estimates as well for publisher level, as well as category level, country level. So all this is very helpful for your mobile strategy. And recently, we also launched a new product, ASO. This is completely free as well. So App Store Optimization, you're able to search for any keyword and see where what kind of results they churn out. So for instance, this is, okay, you can't see it, but it's for the US market. And for yesterday, 2 days ago, if you search Flappy, you can find all these results, and this is their order of rank. So it's interesting that on iPhone, if you search Flappy, you can also find 2048. And also, you can also look at this at app level. Let's say if you click into Boom Beach, these are some of the top keywords that you might have for Boom Beach. Interesting, even if for search beach in the US, you have Boom Beach at number 1. Okay, so now on to our sharing session of market data. So just quick one. All the stuff that we present today are powered by App Annie Intelligence, the most accurate estimates for apps, publishers, countries, categories. And this currently covers iOS and Google Play worldwide. Okay, so let's start with some overview App Store trends. So here we're looking at iOS games versus Google Play games in terms of downloads and revenues. So in blue color it's iOS and green is Google Play. So on the left side you have downloads and right side is revenue. So firstly on left side you see that Google Play downloads in 1 year's time, in the past 1 year has already overtaken iOS, and by some distance. And this is only on iOS and Google Play. It does not include the Android stores in China. So if you include those, Google Play is kind of quite far ahead of iOS in terms of downloads. And in terms of revenue, it's also caught up very fast. So it's last March it was less than half. Now it's close to 2/3, I guess. Yeah, 2/3 of iOS revenue worldwide. And later, next we will show you where this revenue is coming from. Okay, country trends. So these are the top 10 countries in terms of total iOS plus Google Play downloads worldwide for the month of March this year. So not just the top 10 countries, but you can also see each country split between iOS and Google Play downloads. Again, green is Google Play, blue is iOS. So the first thing you can see is that for iOS, Just US and China alone, these two countries are driving 40% of worldwide downloads. And the second trend you see is that most countries have more on the green side compared to the blue. So most of these top 10 game countries by downloads, they have more Google Play downloads. And also in recent months, Russia has grown a lot. It's now the number 3 country by game downloads. It's not a lot. It's not US, UK, and yeah, it's Russia now. And also in the top 10, you see very interestingly countries like Brazil, Thailand, Mexico, Turkey. So a lot of this growth is driven by Google Play. So what about revenue? These are the top 10 countries by revenue, and again, the split between Google Play and iOS. So first thing you can see very clearly, Google Play revenue, 75% of it is in US, Japan, and Korea. Yeah, so actually the top country is Japan. Why Japan and Korea? Because these two have a lot of, firstly, they have a lot of very high Android penetration, and also because there are a lot of mid and hardcore players as well, and more importantly, Google Play worked with local carriers there to provide carrier billing. So that resulted in a lot of gamers being able to pay very conveniently for games. So just now you saw that there's already a lot of game downloads in a lot of fast growth countries, high growth countries like Thailand, Indonesia, Mexico, Brazil, and so on. I think these countries will start to experience a lot of high revenue growth as soon as Google Play manages to work with the carriers there. Because actually, if you think about it, it's not necessarily that in poorer economies people pay less for such games. Actually, it's the opposite. Because if you look at 5 years ago, let's say in China, that time you have feature phones, you have a lot of people who buy ringtones, new subscriptions, or very stupid little games. Those people were not from Beijing and Shanghai. Those people were mainly from second-tier cities, blue-collar workers, students. Why? Because their lives are more not so exciting. They don't go to the club or movies after their work. So they go home and they just play with these games. It's cheap entertainment, cheap distraction. So when the method of payment is very easy, this actually unlocks a lot of revenue in countries like that. Especially Thailand, Indonesia, Brazil, Mexico, Russia. I think there will be a lot of growth. And even in India. Because if you think about it, in India, India is not on chart here, but next slide it is. Okay, I'll explain that in the next slide. Okay, not next slide, the one after this. So just now we looked at the top countries today. Here we look at the growth of countries. So firstly, this is iOS. So the growth of iOS markets in 1 year. So you on downloads and revenue. So you don't see too much growth here except for the big countries like China and Russia, because there's huge countries, they're not mature yet, so you still see some growth. And for revenue, China is now number 3 in the world. A lot of people think, developers think people in China just download a lot, people don't pay. Actually, not entirely true. It's number 3 market in the world now. It's overtaken UK by some distance already. And this is only iOS official store, not jailbreak, not Android. So this is very substantial. Okay, next, Google Play markets. So you see a lot of growth. Russia is number 2, Brazil number 3, Mexico and India as well. And even Southeast Asian countries like Thailand is number 8. Indonesia should be around between 11 to 15. And in terms of revenue, Japan, US, and Korea have always been in the top 3. Recently, US took back the number 2 spot. I think it's a lot of revenue from Supercell now on Google Play as well as Candy Crush. And Germany is another country where it's grown a lot in Google Play games revenue recently, especially for mid-core and hardcore games. Taiwan is not a country of huge population, but a lot of high ARPU players. That's why it's grown a lot. And Taiwan does not have carrier billing yet, so when it's turned on, I think it can grow a lot more. Okay, so I was talking about countries like Brazil, India, Mexico, and so on. Like India doesn't really have a gaming market, or at least a PC online games market. You don't see them in the internet cafes playing World of Warcraft. But casual gaming, mobile gaming now is for everyone. You look at people playing Candy Crush today. They were not gamers 5 years ago. Our parents are playing Candy Crush. So this is the kind of market that smartphones have unlocked, Android has unlocked, and carrier billing will do a lot more to unlock this market in terms of revenue. Okay, so next we look at some worldwide category trends. Which categories are most popular in terms of downloads or revenues? So this is on iOS. The top category for downloads is action, top category for revenue is RPG. But interestingly, second top category for revenue is also action. So they are both good for downloads as well as not too bad ARPU. Next, we look at Google. So Google, casual games first. This is expected for downloads. And in terms of revenue, it's a lot of puzzle RPG games. And casual games actually the third biggest category as well. This is driven by a lot of revenue in Korea and Japan. Okay, next we look at some worldwide top publishers and apps. This is part of the App Annie Index, something that we publish on our website every month. So every month we would publish top monthly apps by downloads and by revenues, and also the top publishers by downloads and revenues worldwide. Okay, so this is the March edition. Here we start with the top iOS games by March downloads worldwide. So number one is Smash It. It's not a big company, but they're able to achieve this. And also, if you look at the whole of March, top 10 games for iOS downloads in March, there are 4 games that are just reached top 10 in March. So it was a very quick rise for them. And yeah, by March, with the iOS has already weeded out most of the Flappy games. Only Flappy Wings left. Yeah. And this is for Google Play. A lot of casual titles here. The top 5 have always been there. Been there for a while, yeah. And actually, a lot of these are not really. So if you look at My Talking Tom, it's Reason for Sports. This has done very well in Russia and Brazil. So it's not it's not typically like US, UK, Australia that's driving the downloads here. So it's also worth it to look at other very fast growing countries. And besides, if you want to purchase traffic there, it might be cheaper. So here are the top iOS games by revenue. So top 5 have remained their position since last month, and actually for the most part of the year as well. And another 2 interesting things are that, so you see actually 3 Tencent games here. So these are monetizing very well in China. Before Tencent and WeChat games, you only had mid-core or hardcore games monetizing in China, but now you have a lot of very casual games as well. And number 10 is Tian Tian Ku Pao. This is a simple run and jump game similar to Windrunner. Yeah. So typically, you know, run and jump games, they have a lifetime of maybe 3 to 5 days, sometimes just 2 hours. This game has been monetizing for over at least $1 million a month for at least 7 to 8 months. Now it's starting to churn, but it's okay. Who would expect a run and jump game to last 8 months? Yeah. And also they have 2 other games there. Another thing that is quite interesting to note is that you see some Tencent games here, you don't see Line games here, but this is for the month of March. So this is just implying that China iOS revenue here is bigger than Line's worldwide revenue, because for Tencent, most of the revenue, 99% in China. Line has a lot in Japan, some in US, some in Thailand, some in Taiwan. But this alone is bigger than that. And top Google Play games, a lot of these are mainly either in Japan or Korea. So Clash of Clans launched on Google Play late last year. Now they're already number 2 in the world. And a lot of these games actually have a lot of potential to do a lot more revenue outside their home countries. Some of them, I mean, a lot of traditional Chinese, Japanese, Korean companies, they launch a big game and then they take 6 months or 1 year to launch in other languages markets. That's generally too long. A very good example is Brave Frontier from Gumi. I think it's I think it's managed from Singapore office, and they managed to launch English, Japanese, Korean, traditional Chinese, simplified Chinese within, I think, a space of 3 months, and they're doing very well in Southeast Asia, China, Japan, Korea, and even in the US. So it's this kind of speed is very important. Okay, so finally, since we are here in Singapore, a little bit on Southeast Asia focus. So how big are the Southeast Asian markets? So these are the top Southeast Asian markets by downloads and revenues. For downloads, it's Thailand number 1, Indonesia number 2, and Singapore is the smallest, but Singapore is the biggest by revenue. But you don't expect this to grow too much, because the only thing that you expect to grow is ARPU. You don't expect much more users unless our parents and grandparents start paying as well. But okay, Number two is Malaysia. Recently, a lot of growth in revenue, not just because of users, but there are more and more Chinese publishers targeting Malaysia, and Japanese ones as well. Thailand is on a very big growth path. They are very close to Malaysia now. If you look at 1 year ago, which publishers are looking at Thailand is maybe just Boya, the Chinese company. Now you have Boya, Yifan, Koram Game, you have Gumi, you have Supercell, you have Candy Crush. They're all targeting Thailand because this is just population market size. There's much more potential here than Singapore, Malaysia. And if you want to, if you just, how big is this? Okay, anyway, all these figures are indexed. So, but if you just want to have a scale of how big this is, in terms of total Southeast Asia downloads, it's around half of US downloads today. In terms of revenues, it's around 10% of US revenues. Okay, so here are some of the top games by downloads and revenues in Southeast Asia. So, top games in Southeast Asia is all casual games. And for revenue is Clash of Clans, Lion Cookie Run, Brave Frontier, Tower Saviors, Candy Crush. So it's interesting to note that although Southeast Asia, other than Singapore, then you have a lot of other native languages in Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines. But the top games by downloads are mostly only all in English. They're actually, all of them are only English, no Southeast Asian languages. But if you are looking to monetize for more mid to hardcore games, most of them have localization. And most of the revenue is in Singapore, Malaysia, and Thailand. The issue, not issue, but situation with countries like Indonesia and the Philippines is that huge downloads growth, a lot of people playing games, but there's a lack of a mid to hardcore market. So the mid to hardcore players market, yeah. Okay, so finally we look at top publishers in Southeast Asia, games publishers. So number one by downloads is Line, and Line is also number two by revenues. This is driven by a lot of revenue from Thailand and a bit in Singapore. Yeah, so number two is King Candy Crush, and then you also have Gameloft, Glue, EA. Yeah, and then in terms of by revenues, I think Asian companies are more adept at knowing how to monetize Southeast Asian users. So besides Supercell and King with their super big hits, you have Line, Gumi, and Kalans. Kalans is Koram Game. Yeah. So generally, I can also provide a bit more, final bit of sharing about Southeast Asia, social networks, social platforms. That's what everyone's talking about. So it's generally between Facebook and WhatsApp and Line and WeChat. So if you were to consider Southeast Asia as a whole, I would still say Facebook is the lowest common denominator. Everyone has a Facebook account, even in Vietnam. And in terms of the messenger networks, so you have, Vietnam is using a lot of Zalo, and then you have, in Thailand, Line has a bigger market share. In Malaysia, actually, Malaysia is interestingly the first country outside of mainland China that WeChat has gotten a critical mass. So WeChat is big and huge in Malaysia. And Singapore is slightly WeChat over Line. Indonesia is slightly Line over WeChat. And yeah, Philippines, I don't remember. Yeah. Okay, so this is all we have to share today. And also we have the App Annie 52. This is we've done this for the third year. So this is poker cards, but this also contains the top 52 publishers by revenue last year. So we give this for free at our booth. Yeah, so just come by. Okay, so thank you. Yes, a lot of free resources at our website. Please feel free to log on and try them out.